right, Ali, let's take a look at your essay. So I think the way you start your essay is actually pretty good with Margaret Atwood. Um, and sometimes you want your quotes to be written in a particular way that's going to connect to it. I think Margaret Atwood is an whatever, excellent inclusion because she's most well known for The Handmaid's Tale, and she writes dystopian, so she kind of looks into this mass hysteria, kind of little tidbits back and forth. But anyways, I think the quote is pretty good, and you picked a good one with social media being social media for a reason. But this is what I have a problem with. It's horn tooting, horning tooth. I'm sorry to laugh, but it's horning tooth makes no sense. That's like if you horn someone's tooth. I don't really know what it means to horn something, but anyways, it's horn tooting. So you have this idea about social media being used to connect people together, and then as you move on, society in particular and the whole world in general, I would get rid of in particular and in general. Just say society and the whole world have a strong bond together by social media. People may spread mass hysteria within the town. Actually, you know what? Let's just look at this. This is great and phenomenal. This talks a lot about the social connectivity that comes with social media, but then you get a little bit off track here. People may spread mass hysteria within, this is one word, should be, the town or city. For instance, in the Crucible, many people, blah, blah, blah. You have a contraction right here, didn't. You want to spell it out, did not. Nevertheless, it did not. Hold on, I have to think about this because this is worded incorrectly. Many people started accusing each other, period. Put a period here. Capitalize this. It was not, that's what you need, was not heard of, get rid of it, outside the town till, and I see a lot of people doing this, did not mean it. Actually, good, I want my dictionary here. This is the less formal way of saying until, and it doesn't work because this is what you typically need. It should be TIL because typically a till is, where is it? A cash register or drawer for money in a store or bank, or it's something where you till a land, which is farming, and you don't want that. Crucible is all about accusations of witchcraft. People were sent to death. Extra word, get rid of that. I never heard of because the weak connection bond with people. People connect with social media, websites, phones, but still human nature tends to take a long time and not efficient information. So I don't know what you're saying here. Human nature tends to take a long time and not efficient information. I don't know if you mean and not supply efficient information or something, but when I look at this, your hook is pretty good. I actually really like your hook a lot. Like hook a lot. Okay. But I love Margaret Atwood, so maybe that's just me being biased. But I think it does play a good part, and I think your first half of the intro is good. And let me talk about the grammar stuff a little bit. I'm noticing some verb form things that is a big thing for you to work on. And the other thing is you're missing some words. Look at your word choice. I think your first half of the introduction is really good, and the second half falls apart because you're just misplacing words here and there. So I think your placement of words needs to be looked at with it. And I'm also not sure what your thesis is, so I'm just gonna skedaddle down here to your conclusion. Okay, so you are talking about media being more potent in producing mass hysteria. So, just make that a little bit more clear. Maybe you don't need the Crucible in here because you just need it, even though you're talking about it with a weak connection or bond with people, just strictly come out and say, media is more potent, worry about the Crucible for a different paragraph. Okay, so, your body paragraph started off promising. I'm going to be honest with you, Ali. You have some misinformation, and that's going to be the biggest thing with your essay that may drive it, and we'll see if it's back there as well. So the thing is, when we're talking about media, so many social media websites, such as Facebook, when you do this, you want to put a space. So Facebook space Twitter space Twitter comma space but I'm going to get rid of this because I don't want this to pop up in your email a bunch of times. Many sites out of the 21st century of a daily newspaper. So this is good because you're getting in the idea of how this technology were exposed within seconds, and then paper spread mass hysteria in the past too. The only thing is you don't have enough evidence in your article to suggest that papers were what spread this. So when you talk about the French nuns that started meowing, I don't believe there was any paper that talked about that in particular. And then when we get to the Salem witch trials, it wasn't media that drove it. Salem was literally how the Crucible sets it up. Is Abigail says, Ali, you are a witch. I saw you with the devil. And that's what you have to do. And then you go to the court, and then the court's like, okay, we'll find out where Ali lives. And then you're arrested, and then you go to court, and your option is either confess, and then you'll be in trouble, or you can not confess and die. So I think the thing, Ali, is you have an interesting thing with how social media and media in general is used, especially nowadays, for us to get information transferred to us so quickly. But you are right. So these are accusations without proof. But the thing is, it doesn't quite work with Salem. Maybe with the nuns, but I don't think it really works. So I think you need to pick better examples. And I'm going to write that on your rubric. Better examples needed. Because I think that will improve it. So as we move forward, I think this is an interesting extension to what you had before. That we're connected by the most critical invention of all ages. Which is kind of interesting, right? We have, especially in this capitalistic country of the United States of America, we have consumerism, which drives us and drives our culture in so many ways. So even if you think about it, like, video games nowadays are a big way we communicate. It's a critical invention. And then even as we have cell phones, as you talk about, that's a critical invention. Cell phones and the internet, people do get addicted and they help spread it. You know, you talk about rumors back in time, not the greatest phrase. News were transported so late. I wouldn't say so late. It was delayed, so it took longer. And then you talk about this stuff later, but people weren't as exposed to it. But I think it's interesting that you talk about we're centered around this, and this is centered around dancing, and this took a while for people to know, but it's really just this media that's helping spread it. So the thing with this, again, is you need some specific examples. Hold on. You need some more specific examples in this paragraph, and that will help you. Because you don't really have that. Integrate your specific examples that proves your point that media is more potent, and I think that will make it easier for you. And then as you talk, human nature tends to have many errors that media fills in. Interesting. That human nature is not accurate, which leads to media most potent over human nature. So I think the thing here, Trump and Clinton, these need to be capitalized. Media promoted and discouraged and informed that huge thing. I don't know what you're talking about with thing. And for that, media is more accurate and faster than human nature. I wouldn't say it's more accurate. That's where I need to catch it on. It is not more accurate. Human nature is actually... Well, hold on. Let me say this. With media, I would argue it's harder to know factual information. And that's in a strictly unbiased way. As a historian, I have to look at these things, and I don't think that's necessarily true. So I think overall, looking at this, you don't quite acknowledge the opposite side. You say, oh, well, there's people think this way, but you don't really explain their side. So take the time to explain that, and that will make it a little bit better, but you don't quite have that. And then in your conclusion, the media is connected. The media connects, get rid of is, connects people by websites and mostly phones, have a space there, but we still cannot confess, 2 S's, that human nature is a potent source. Not confessed. Okay, as media becomes more and more efficient, so does the communication line among people. I think that's what you mean. So mass hysteria spread more quicker and easier, and media will always improve to make the lives of people more easier. However, mass hysteria will never stop spreading through the future media. So this is a little bit hard to follow. Your train of thought. I'm not sure what's going on here. So make sure that your writing is clear to me so I can kind of see what is going on, because I'm a little lost with what you're putting in here. So let me pull this up. So if I pull this here, so if you let me try to rewrite this, and I will show you what I mean. The medias connect people by websites and mostly phones. We still do not confess that human nature is a potent source. What I would say is, even though media connects us as humans, we cannot. No, I don't. We can't say we. Human nature is not the most potent source of mass hysteria. As media becomes more and more efficient, so does the communication line among people. We are more apt to speak to others quickly. As a result, mass hysteria is spread more quickly and more easily. While some may view media as a means of making life easier, the media still plays a critical role of spreading mass hysteria. I think this is critical. This is supposed to be spreading. I don't know what I did. Spreading mass hysteria. I think this is more along the lines of what you were trying to say. Hold on. Spreading mass hysteria. I think this is what you're trying to say. So, Ali, what I would say, let me pause this for a second. Okay, so overall, I think you have some good ideas in here, but you definitely need to make sure you are improving it in a few ways. And I can see that you worked on this quite a bit throughout the time. So what I would suggest to you is just make sure you are proofreading it and double checking it, because there's a few times where I'm a little confused with what you're getting at. And I think sometimes you might just be rushing through what you're doing, because you have some moments where the grammar is really strong and then it kind of slips away for a couple minutes. So if there's something I need to know or something I can do to help you with that, please let me know, because I am here to help you. But overall, I think you have some good things in here. I think you need some better examples with some more analysis, and you're kind of missing it with that second and third body paragraph. But anyways, what was I gonna say? Anyways, if you want to do a rewrite, you can. Look at how I rephrase your conclusion. Don't be afraid to seek out me for some resources. Don't be afraid to seek out other people. And I will be glad to help. All right, thanks, Ali.